what is empirically verifiable. This empirical verifiability of the phenomenal reality is not a guarantee that ultimately that is true. A lot of things are phenomenally real, ultimately not real. Therefore, Bhagavan says it's actually not real. So, what is real? That real thing is actually Atma. And that is Sarva Prakashaka. Nothing illuminates it, it illuminates everything. Natadhasayate suryo nasasanka napavakaha yat gatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. That is the ultimate destination of mind. So you know, he has mentioned that in chapter 13. We had a lot of discussion about it. He had touched upon that even in chapter 9. In chapter 15, in a way, this is a summary of whole of Bhagavad Gita. If you cannot read any chapter, you don't have any time. The monks, the sadhus, a lot of grihasthas, they mug up chapter 15, chapter 12, chapter 15, chapter 6 for the people, students, brahmacharis, they have to mug up chapter 6. So chapter 15, a lot of people just remember it. Because if you cannot read any chapter, you just read this. And it gives you equal benefit and also reminds you of all the key points Bhagavan touches in different chapters in Bhagavad Gita. So he mentions that that is my ultimate thing. And we had a long discussion on this. Then in the next two verses that we discussed in the previous class, Bhagavan mentioned about what Mamaiva Angsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutaha Sanatanaha Manasastan Indriyani Prakriti Karshati Sariram Yadavapnoti Yaschapyutkramatishvaraha Gruhitvitani Sanyati Vayurgandha Nivasayat. Now he's introducing Tadhama Paramama Mama. He mentioned that is one unified feel, that is the Brahman that we're talking about, the Atman, the Paramatma. The doubt would obviously be there in the minds of the students, in the minds of all of us. Then what about samsara? Is it true or is it false? Do we accept it or don't you accept it? How do you make sense of it? And he has mentioned Kshetra Kshetrajna Yoga in chapter 13. He's reiterating that in a different set of words, but driving home more or less the same point. He will continue to repeat that point. It's a very difficult thing. We don't understand it. Therefore, he says, please understand this, but this is not physical angsha. Mama eva angshaha jiva lokaha jiva loke jiva bhutaha sanatanaha. It's not that actually we are physical parts of God, as some people imagine, but he's trying to say, we have already discussed that. I am the foundation, they are the projections. And I'm Sarva Abhavasaka. I show up everything, I illuminate everything. And Manaha Sastam Yesam Te Indriyani. The Manas is also one of the Indriyas. This is the sixth Indriya. And all the five we know, the Jnana Indriyas. So Bhagavan says that when a person wakes up from deep sleep, it brings these sense organs into operation, into function. He wakes and the person wakes up and reconnects with reality. And he will mention that in chapter the verse number 9. What happens is that this Atma, because it's Nirvikara, Nishkala, Niskriya, Nirmala, it cannot do anything. It cannot know anything, because to the moment you say it will know something, then there are two things. That Brahman is there, then there is something that it wants to know, but Vedanta says that there is just one thing. That is pure consciousness. So what is to know? So we have to introduce some space, we have to introduce some leg room, so to say, some elbow space, some opportunity for this thing to be possible. Otherwise, how do you imagine Srishti? How do you make sense of this Jagat? Bhagwan is only true. How do we make sense of Jagat? And only one thing is real, that is Bhagavan. What? How do we make sense of Jagat then? So we have to have some idea, and that is a big challenge for everybody to explain this diversity. Therefore, how do we do it? There has to be some Veda. Now, what Vedanta does, it brings in a word which we have discussed earlier called Upadhi. So, Upadhika. That means this Brahman, which is here, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that Jiva and Brahma are not different. However, the Jivatva of the Jiva is with Avidya Upadhi. What is avidya? Is ignorance. It's a very complicated word. It's not ignorance means not knowing something. That is avidya. It's not in that sense. There are so many examples which are given that this there is this green color or yellow is green or whatever you call it. And if we bring, I mean, this is a, let's say it's a spatika. They say, of course, this is too small, but this spatika look green, this crystal. You put a crystal very close to something green, it'll look green. It'll reflect that color. If you put it very close to something red, it looks red. Now you say there is no second. So what color are you talking about here? With what? These are very difficult, challenging questions. So the jivatva here is that anadi, they are called about six anadis they accept. Very complicated philosophical questions. So what they are trying to say is, we have our karma. Actually, we are no different from Brahman. Then we have these karmas, our papa punyas, our sanskaras. And as a result of these, we have a certain way of looking at things. We have a mind and everything. But there is a Atma, there is a Sakshi Chaitanya. Deep down, we are not being able to recognize. And that particular thing is referring to as what? Ishvaraha. And when this body falls, the Jivatma doesn't die. He's saying Sariram Yad Avapnoti. It assumes the body when it is born, and Yatsa Api Utkramati. And then when the body has to be abandoned, is struck with diseases, there's an accident, or there is a natural calamity, it cannot sustain itself. That Ishwaraha, that Jivatma, the boss of this whole Karya Karana Sanghata, he lifts. What is Grihitva Etani? Etani Kim? These Sukshma Sarira, all these Indriyas and all. Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, Pancha Prana, Mana Buddhi, all 17. It carries them, that Sukshma Sarira. It lifts the Sukshma Sarira and goes. And I have given certain examples earlier, and these are standard examples given. Even then, I tell you, it's not that we are dull, we don't understand. This is a very difficult question to understand. Therefore, so many examples are given, and after years of Vedanta, you can still have a lot of doubts, and they are clarified in higher texts that you would study. What they say, okay, you are saying yourself, Atma is Nirvikara, Nischala, Achala, it doesn't go anywhere. Then you are saying Utkramati, Ishwaraha. I'm completely confused. Therefore, Vedanta is saying that just imagine, we have discussed that earlier. I say, we are going to have a puja. Can you go and bring some Ganga water? You go to the Ganges and you pick up some water and you come. Then I tell you, can you bring some Akasha from Chidambaram temple. In Tamil Nadu, there is a temple called Chidambaram temple. Chidambara means what? Akasha. So there's now see Lord Shiva, they will have one Spatika they do some Abhishekam outside, but actually there is nothing. They'll say, now see Lord Shiva. When they open, you see the wall. There is nothing. There are some, golden stars and stuff like that. They're hanging. These are the stars and everything. And when where is Lord Shiva? Oh, Lord Shiva is here. He's everywhere. Chidambara. It's pure consciousness. It doesn't have a physical form. The complete Advaita Upasana. Now I'm super excited about the idea, then I will send you there. Can you bring some Akasha? Bring Chidambara with you. How can I bring it? You take this golden pot, bring some Chidambara. You go to that temple, you open it, and you close it, and you come back. Have you brought Chidambara? Is the Akasha, the space inside the small temple we have different from space in that big temple in Chidambaram? No. However, in Vyavahara, we feel good that we have filled some, we may bring some air from there. We cannot bring space. But this is an imagination. This is the way in which we have to understand this. What do you mean by Ishvara Jivatma picks it up and goes? Because Jivatma Paramatma is only one. However, during Vyavahara Kala, during the process, we are trying to make sense of what it is. These are all fine. Otherwise, even we cannot do sadhana, we cannot do satsanga because everything is one. Therefore, all this is fine. At this particular level, these multiplicities, these diversities, these are all fine, these are all true because they are sadhaka, they are helpful for our movement upwards. So, he mentioned in these two, how does it go? If you say, he said, the way wind moves carrying fragrance of a sandalwood oil or perfume that you're wearing, or you're wearing some beautiful perfume. Beautiful is the wrong word to use. Very precious, good smelling perfume that you are wearing. You enter a party and everybody is looking at you. What is this perfume name? Because they are amazed with the fragrance. How do they get it? Because you are standing at a distance. No, the Vayu, the air carries the fragrance. Diffusion happens. Similarly, saying the Sukshma Sarira is traveling with the Jivatma because they have to explain this. I tell you, from the ultimate standpoint, these are all imaginations. If you take the focal length of Advaita Vedanta in the ultimate sense, none of these is ultimately real. Bhagavan is explaining to us so that we are able to make sense of what is going on. Otherwise, we'll have no answer to samsara, we'll have no answer to why we are born, we'll have no answer to why we'll study, why we'll do anything if everything is one. We need to be aware of the ultimate, we need to deal with the details. We do 5 minutes of Vedanta, then we can go to sleep submaya. That's not the way to go. So everything is very fine. So what he's saying, these are kalpita. He's saying kalpita papadyate. Okay. So Bhagavan says, kalpitatva jiva brahmangsa iti brahmana ekasya eva angsangsi bhavaha. The Chidambara temple, Akasha, the Mahakasa are one. Angsangsi bhava is imagined. Kalpita upapadyate. Natu vastunah asti iti uchyate. Fundamentally not there. But we have to do and we have to live with this kalpana. What because these are we are dealing with projections. Like in a leisure show, you will not be happy if all the time somebody tells you these are projections. You also want to have fun and look at the beautiful projections that are happening. So in Sansara Rasa, similarly, we are dealing with what's happening. Some people are getting obsessed with it, which is a little problematic. But we see this, we make sense of it, and we would like to transcend this. But we cannot reject everything and get, we will be able to transcend. That he will explain in the next verse and couple of. So now, if somebody asks the question that you mentioned, manasastani indriyani prakristani karshati, it pulls. So it's beautifully mentioned that this Atma makes use of this body mind complex. Okay, actually, it doesn't do anything. These are ways of speaking. Then we are living because we have to explain that that pure consciousness is there in all of us. Everything is happening. Okay, so we have to do that viveka. There is a distinction between that pure self and there is a sopadhika atma. Then everything is happening. And why then we are not being able to see all this if the pure Atma is all there? We have already discussed the way a conch shell, Sankha, looks a little yellowish because somebody has jaundice. So that is ignorance part of our eyes. The sansara appears as the way it is, not because the way it is, that the manifest reality is absolutely real, but because this is what we can actually see with our naked eyes. Like a person who has a sophisticated telescope and us looking at the sky will see two different things. Similarly, the person who has sharp intellect understands something differently compared to the way we do. And the person who has jnana chakyu, not intellectual chakyu, but that spiritual insight, he pierces through what appears and sees that ultimate thing is just one in the samadhi dasa. So in the verse number 9, Indriyani sangriho sarirantaram gatva tatra king karoti. There will be a problem in the mind of the student which needs an answer. What is that problem? You mentioned that it assumes a body and then it drops a body. Okay. Then it lives. Fine. Where does it go? What does it do with this new body? It'll take up a new body, is it? Yeah. So if it does it, it'll go to Swarga. He has explained all that, even all the chapters. That there is a chapter 8 he has mentioned. There is Archimarga. He'll go to Brahmaloka. Others will go to Dakshinayana Marga. They'll go to Swarga Loka, Pitri Loka. They'll come back. There is a path where we go and we return. There's a path we don't return, which is the Jnana Marga or in the Upasana Marga. Yes, discuss all that. Now, the question might come that when we are reborn, because this is a kind of summary of whole of Bhagavad Gita in a certain way, the question might come, what does the Atma do? That is what he's explaining. He's explaining in the next verse. Let's do Uchchara of the verse number 9. Shrotram chakshuhu sparshanam cha
श्रोत्रं चक्षुः स्पर्शनं च
rasanam घ्राणमेव च
रसनं
रसनं घ्राणमेव च
अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायम्
अधिष्ठाय
अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायं
विषयानुपसेवते.
विषयानुपसेवते
विषयानुपसेवते
Yeah, because this Atma is Niskala, Nirvikara, Nirmala, transparent. So is as good as Mahasunyata. It's as good as it doesn't exist. Because we cannot see this. So how to make sense of it, isn't it? So it's very difficult. And therefore, we have to have a way of explaining this, and that he's explaining in this next one. The first, he narrates what are these Gyanendriyas. And then he says this Shrotram Shakshuhu, Sparshanam, Rasanam, Granam. He's going in the same process. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithivi. That is how the Panchabhutas are created. This is the series. This is the sequence. Akasha comes out of that. Ishvara Hiranyagarbha, he creates Akasha. The Sukshma Tanmatras are there, Sukshma Bhutas, and they get Panchikrita, and you have the Panchabhutas, which are happening. We did that in Tattvabodha. So the Shrotrendriya comes out of the Akasa Tattva. Shakshu Indriya, Darshana Indriya comes out of Teja, Agni Tattva. And Sparshana, Vayu, there's a bit of reversal because after Sotra actually Sparsha, Sabda Sparsha, it should come there. But here he's then Rupa. Rupa is the Agni thing. But Sotra he is mentioning Shakshu here. Out of Akasa Tattva, he directly making Agni Tattva, just for the benefit of easy perception of us. Because we say, okay, hearing, then eyes, then touch, sparsana vayu, rasana, the tasting, which is Jala Tattva, and a grana, smelling, gandhavatvam. That is the dharma, Prithivi. The grana indriyas we have from the Prithivi Tattva. Evacha. Adhisthaya manah cha manascha ayam purushaha ayam atma ayam jivatma vishayan upasevate vishayan ditya bahuvachana. It experiences all the vishayas. So when you go to a party, let's imagine that there are different kind of dishes which are being served. There's a place where ice cream is being served. Can you eat it with your hands? You cannot. Then there's a place where they are serving some payasam, some milk pudding. Can you have it with your hands? No, you need a spoon. Then there are some salad items which are being served. You need a fork. Okay. So you need different kinds of means of accessing it. And there is a place, let's imagine, there are a lot of mini micro pictures in an exhibition hall and you're going there, you cannot access them unless you are using some means to see them. Now, upasevate, but to be able to do that, so this Atma, to connect with anything, upasevate, does it experience? No. The Jiva is a little challenging, is a little complex, but we can make it very simple. Already he has mentioned, Natad Bhasayate Surya. The sun cannot show it, it shows the sun. And what is the proof? That in deep sleep, because this Atma doesn't need the help of anything, Sakshi Chaitanya doesn't need the help of anything. In fact, it makes it possible for us to see anything, for anything to be visible. This Atma is showing, Sakshi Chaitanya is showing everything, because without it, nothing will be visible. A dead body, eyes, nose, ears, everything is there. Does the person who is dead experience anything? He doesn't experience anything. Because the Jivatma has abandoned that body. It's like you have a car, engine isn't functioning, there is no driver. It's a wonderful car, it's there. Once you get into it, you can drive the car. Similarly, this Chaitanya, without the, and then you can say it is Sarvatmaka, so it should be everywhere there. Why it's not there? No, yeah, we are talking about a particular level of reality. We're talking about Jivatma. And that Sakshi Chaitanya, Upasevati means Prakasayati, it shows of everything. So the Indriyas become operational. It pulls the Indriyas. Actually, it doesn't pull anything. That is the challenge about Advaita Vedanta. We speak in a language as if a lot of things are happening, but they are not happening. But we have to talk like this because that is the gradual process. Will go to the next level. They may not like, for example, I have told you this earlier also. Somebody has to play table tennis, and the trainer tells him to do a bit of weight training. He said, "Why should I build? Why should I do weight training in the gym? How does it relate or help me in my table tennis? That's completely different game." He says, "No, you need that. Your body needs to be perfectly in shape. You need to be alert, agile, and your response time has to be, super sharp because it's a very fast game." So he goes to the gym. No immediate relationship with the game, but there is a relationship. Similarly, Advaita Vedanta, ultimate thing is fine, but we have to do all that. Otherwise, Advaita Vedanta is completely useless. It doesn't mean anything. We can only talk about it till cows come home. So all the sadhanas we have to do. Nishkama Karma Yoga, Ishvara Upasana, Ishvara Prana Buddhi. A lot of Upasana is also required. And there are quite a lot of Upasanas in different Upanishads. So Sotram Shakyuh Sparshanam cha Rasanam Grana eva cha Adhisthaya. What does that mean? Adhisthaya means what here? Is explaining that. Jivaha Kshetrajyaha, chapter 13, we have discussed that. That Jiva Jivatmaha Atma. Sarire Vartamanaha. Sarire Vartamanasan Vishayan Savdadin Upasevate. Upalavate. But actually, Nilakantha has given a very good thing. It doesn't actually get anything. It is the source. It makes, because Jivatma is also a story. It's a sopadhika thing, right? For us to experience anything, that Sakhi Chaitanya is playing that role. It is showing up everything. Without the presence of that Sakhi Chaitanya, nothing will be visible to us. But it is written that it upasevate, it connects with all that. So then what? Etasmine buddhante ratva charitva društva eva punyam cha papam cha. This is a Sriti Vakya. Iti sravanad indriyartha sannikarshad samutpadyamanam punya papa kriyam indriyani arthangscha pasyati ityartha. So there are some rules. There is some violent activity happening. If you see it, that's papa. Some good activities happening, and that is good. You have some punya. So there are these different indications and different interpretations in the sastras. So whatever we do some papa or punya. And therefore he's saying that by having this upadhi adhisthaya means getting into this composite form called body mind complex, this jivatma connects with the external world or even the sukshma world, the subtle world or the physical world. Okay, it connects with them with the help of this jnana indriyas. With manas, it connects with a lot of things. We may not necessarily see something, but with the mind we connect with things, we interpret things. So he says, so what he's saying, atra sariram yad apnoti yacha api utkramati iti sarirad utkramana tat sankramana प्रतिपादनेन आत्मनः जीवस्य सूक्ष्म शरीर विशिष्टत्वं ह्योपादेयात् स्थूलात् भिन्नत्वं च प्रतिपादितम्. So please look at it. Sounds a little complex. It's very simple. What he's trying to say is, we have a Sukshma Sarira. What is that? Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Prana, Mana Buddhi. And then we have Stula Sarira. But that Jivatma is neither the Stula Sarira nor this Sukshma Sarira. It is Bilakshana, different from these two. And it is making use of the Sukshma Sarira and the Stula Sarira to connect with the external world and for us to be active. That is what he's trying to say. So that particular Vinnatva is saying Adhishtaya Manasayam Vishayan Upasevate. So sotram shakyu ityadina sotradi indriyani manabuddhim cha upadaya, making use of them, adhishtaya upadaya. Then he's saying vishayan upalabhate ityukta cha upalabdhuhu upadeyebhyah upalabdhebhyascha vinnatvam. Whatever we are connecting with, whosoever is trying to connect with, look at that, Jivatma is beyond all this. So that makes it very, very complicated. And you just have to think it's in simple terms, that which is doing everything is actually not doing anything. It is just a witness, it is there, but without it, nothing will happen. It's like we're going in rounds and rounds and rounds, you will say. But that is what it is. It's very hard not to crack, but that is what it is. So, having understood that this Jivatma now directly doesn't experience anything, it makes use of this body mind complex. Remember, just understand this much only, because there's a lot of theoretical stuff here. Because there are certain things, Chakshushaha Sakshi, Sotrasyaha Sakshi, Vachaha Sakshi, Manasaha Sakshi, Buddhe Sakshi. This Chaitanya is the witness of all this. Whatever we do, हम जो भी करते हैं, वो कुछ कुछ नहीं करते हुए सबको देखता है, क्योंकि सबका साक्षी है. It's a witness of all that we have, all that we are doing. Sarvasya Sakshi, Tataha Avikriyah, and it watches, it doesn't do anything. साक्षी है तो फिर आपने क्यों बताया इससे पहले कि वो करता है, उत्क्रमण करता है, शरीर को ग्रहण करता है, मन और इंद्रियों को खींचता है. या दैट इज द चैलेंज, दैट इज अ हर्डल दैट वी हैव टू क्रॉस. दैट इज व्हाट इज द सीक्रेट ऑफ वेदांत. ध्यायति इव लीलायति इव. इट appears if it is meditating or it's being operational, it's being active, but actually it's not so. But there are different levels at which we have to deal with it. Let's do the verse number 10. We have time 5 minutes. Those we can do, we started late. Utkramantam sthitam vapi.
उत्क्रान्तं स्थितं वापि
Utkramantam sthitam vapi.
उत्क्रान्तं
Ramantam stitam vapi
स्थितं वापि
Punjanam va gunanvitam.
bhunjanam
ज्ञानं
va
वा गुणार्थं
gunavantam
Vimuraha nanupashyanti.
विमूढानां पश्यन्
Ashanti
Pashyanti jnana-chakshushaha.
पश्यन्
Pashyanti
पश्यन्ति
Jnana
ज्ञानचक्षुषः.
Chakshusha.
So you see, Bhagavan, as if we are struggling to understand what he is talking about, right? We raise so many questions. Bhagavan is so kind. He says, relax. He's saying, Utkramantam Sthitam va api bhunjanam. There are three states. Utkramantam, when a person is dying, the Jivatma leaves. It leaves with the Sukshma Sarira. Sthitam chapi, when the child is jayate, asti vardhate, the child stabilizes, asti. Then it is active. Sthitam means in deep sleep also you can include that. Bhunjanam va. Then when bhunjana means eating, connecting with the Vahya Sansara. Upasevate, that sabda is there, therefore Bhunjana we mentioned here. So it connects with the external reality through different ways. Then he mentions Bhunjanamba Gunanmitam. Can it do it directly? It also connects with the Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas. It becomes Gunanmita. It has these upadhis. But Bimuraha na anupashyanti. This is what we had the challenge. He's saying actually, don't worry, it's not your problem. It's a problem of where you are right now, because you are confusing me because I am in the body, that the sarira is you. Bimudhaha, here we will discuss a little more tomorrow about it. But I liked one sentence Ramanujacharya has written. Mat prapatti viraha. They do not have any surrender to me, to Narayan. They don't have faith in God. They don't have dedication to God. Because they don't have, I don't open their jnana chakshus. He brings in a very powerful way, the devotional aspect of spiritual practice. And I like it. It's very important. That without that devotional aspect, the mind, even though it has, because that Ishwara Prasada is very important. In Kashmiri Shaivism, they underline the importance of Anugraha. Even Shankaracharya, Advaita Vedanta also mentions, but we need that grace of God. And Guru's grace, God's grace is that divine grace in one word. And that divine grace expands the more we are dedicated. And the more we're dedicated, the more it expands, the easier it becomes for us to actually understand these things. So he says, Jnana Chakshushaha. Everyone cannot see, everybody confuses. The moment you ask who is a person, they will refer to the social status, the intellectual, the academic, all these variables they will mention. What they cannot see is that Atma thing, which is the foundation of all the variables we associate with ourselves. Please look at that. It's very interesting. All the variables, whether gender, your studies, your looks, your financial status, all nationality, all that attributes and other things we associate ourselves with are because of that fundamental thing which we are not being able to see. We see everything else other than that fundamental thing. We'll carry it forward tomorrow. Let's do the Santi Mantra. Couple of verses a little tricky, but once we break, then other things it's cakewalk after this. Om
Om Purnamadaha
Purnamidam Purnam
Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya
Purnamevavashishyati.
Purnamevashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya
Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Punam Bhavatu
Bhavatu Sarvesham
Sarvesham
Mangalam Bhavatu
Bhavatu
Sarve
Sarve
Bhavantu
Bhavantu Sukhiनः Sarve
Sarve
Santु
Santu
Niरामयाः
Niramaya
Sarve
Sarve
Bhadraणि पश्यन्तु
Bhavantu
मा
Namaste
कश्चित् भागवतेतु असितो मा सद्गते ॐ
Brahma
मृत्युर्मामृतमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Shri Guru
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम् तत्सत्
Have a very good day.